All right, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So hopefully everybody out there can hear me okay. We're going to go ahead and get started here today. Going to get started. I know that we got a couple of folks still coming in here, but I value your time and I don't want to take that for granted. So I appreciate you. So I want to get started, and I'd like to talk a little bit about some things that we see kind of going on right now. So one of the big things that's kind of taking up a lot of space in our world is mortgage rates. And so we have seen mortgage rates, that's kind of been the driving factor for what happened with all of real estate last year. And then it had been ticking back up until Friday. It had really been kind of ticking back up until Friday. And then what happened on Friday?
Oh, didn't the bank, the bank.
Yeah, SVB. So Silicon Valley Bank went under. And so I want to kind of talk a little bit about Silicon Valley Bank as well as the other bank that went under kind of thing. Because, first thing I want to kind of let everybody know is that or I want to talk about is first of all, do y'all think that banking is in a bad place right now? Or is there going to be another run of banks? Is this another 2006 that we have going on?
I don't think so.
No. I mean, what we actually had here was kind of like an old school run on the bank, right? Back in the day, like first of all, Silicon Valley Bank has a lot of tech companies in it, and if y'all have been kind of keeping up with what's happened with tech, what has happened with a lot of tech companies and venture capital companies, they've really been been laying off, they've been holding people out, so they've been pulling a lot of their deposits out. And at the same time, Silicon Valley Bank had a lot of long-term treasuries that they had invested in. And so what happened when the Fed, over the course of the last year, kept raising the federal funds rate? What do you think happened to those treasuries?
Decrease.
The value, the yield on all those treasuries went down. So now all those safe investments that they had out there were now tied up, and if they had to liquidate those investments, they were going to be losing sometimes 20% of what that total investment was. So basically, they just ran out of money. Is really what it is. And so so the Fed came in, and this is an interesting kind of concept because realistically, would they have probably gone under if the federal funds rate hadn't been kind of shooting through the roof over the past course of the year? The Fed has never done that before, and it really caught a lot of banks kind of off guard. And on one hand, you got to be like, well, what's safer than treasuries? What's safer than the 10-year, 20-year treasury? Those are traditionally very safe investments. But when you buy them at a very low interest rate, and then the interest rate goes up, suddenly they go from being an asset to a liability. And so with Silicon Valley Bank, that's what happened. Now, when the bank got taken back over by the government, what do y'all think? What then happened to our treasury market? Anybody know? Well, this is our treasury market as of yesterday, kind of thing. And so you can see that treasuries have been, the 10-year treasury. And the reason I have the 10-year treasury listed is the 10-year treasury is what really closely mimics the 30-year fixed mortgage rates. They really do kind of go together. But we've dropped down to 3.515 is really where the 10-year treasury is right now. And so what happens when treasuries drop? When the 10-year treasury drops, what's going to happen to interest rates? Then they're going to go down. Right, they're going to go down kind of thing, because they move in unison, right? So for the past 50 years, this is the actual trend lines between, the blue is a 10-year treasury, and the green line is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. And so you see that they move in unison. So when the 10-year treasury goes down, what happens to mortgage rates? They go down, right? Exactly, that kind of stuff. On average, our average spread is between 1.72 and 1.8. Is the normal spread between the 10-year treasury and a 30-year fixed mortgage rate. That's kind of average from where we've kind of historically been. Now, for the past year almost, that spread has been an entire percent higher. So right now, our spread is averaging 2.7. So historically, that spread is 1.7. Right now, that spread is 2.7. It runs between 2.7 and 3%. And that's a really big change from where we've been. And so why do y'all think that is? Why do you think that the spread is increasing?
Because the Fed is speeding up the process.
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty in our market. And, the other thing that we really have to look at is, like the mortgage companies are hedging their bets. They're building in a buffer. They're trying to protect themselves. Do you agree with that, Jeremy?
100%.
So, so I guess one thing I want you to see is there room for this, first of all, to come down?
Yes.
Yeah, there really is. If you look at, like realistically, with a 3.5% 10-year treasury, we should be running about a 5.5% 30-year fixed rate mortgage, right? Because if you look at, in 2000 through 2021, with a 10-year treasury of 3.5, we were running a 5.28 mortgage rate. And what would 5.5 do for us in this market right now? It'll blow the doors off it. Absolutely, it really would. Because if we can get back in that mid fives, that's like a really big sweet spot for us. Things become a lot more, valuable for us. Now, this is where we're at right now. We have almost a 3% spread in here. And so, we just had a normal rate, a normal spread, we'd be looking at around, like I said, 5.5%, which is really where I see us kind of moving into. Now, Jeremy may have a different take on that, but I'm looking at interest rates are going to be going down. I want to talk about why I see that happening, kind of thing. So a big thing here is that inflation drives the treasuries. Inflation drives mortgage rates. Okay, there is a direct correlation that you can find between what's happening with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, and what's happening with the 30-year fixed rate, as well as that the 30-year fixed rate follows what? 10-year treasuries, right? I hope y'all were ready to come in and like think and jump into math and all that kind of stuff. But this is really important to us, right? Because like I want you to understand what's going on in the market, because the headlines are not your friends. And if you don't understand what the forces are behind the market, then you can't explain these things to your clients. Because if they watch the news, what's the news?
Bad.
Bad. It's always bad. It's never good about housing. So now at the same time, we have wage growth slowing. Is this good or bad for inflation?
Bad.
Actually, this is good for inflation. As weird as that sounds, right? Because when wages go up, that's inflationary. When we see the wage growth is leveling off, that's going to help to hold prices down. So actually, that's a good sign for inflation. And again, inflation drives mortgage rates. The other thing to look in here is that, when you put all the different aspects, all the different pieces together on goods less food and energy, services, that kind of stuff, and look at where the inflation comes, this green bar right here, this is housing. This is shelter costs. And, they're looking at shelter costs. Are we seeing shelter costs really, really increasing? Well, we have, but is it still increasing right now at this same kind of rate that we're seeing on here?
No.
No, the problem is that, shelter overall makes about 42% of overall CPI. Overall, the consumer price index, shelter makes up about 40% of that. And our shelter costs lag on these reports. So like, what are we seeing with rents going on? Rents are softening a lot. How about property value appreciation? Now, we still have very positive property value appreciation, but are we running 18, 16% property value appreciation? Are we in double digit property value appreciation anymore?
It's softening.
So it's softening and back into like a normal market. Like normal historical real estate appreciation is about 4.5% a year. And so we're back in that range of very normal, which we really needed. Because I don't know, most folks don't just make an additional 20% more than they made last year and another 20% on that year and all that moving forward kind of thing. So, we are seeing where housing costs, especially rents, and rents make up a big piece of it. Rents have been dropping. And so from an inflation point of view, that's a very positive thing to go on as well. And so when you look at how the monthly inflation rate and the inflation rate for actually came out today. Now, the Fed are gonna meet next Tuesday and Wednesday, and they're gonna release whatever they're doing with the federal funds rate. Now, the federal funds rate, just so we kind of understand, it doesn't directly affect interest rates, but it does somewhat to a certain degree, right? Mainly because the market kind of loses their mind. And so like you can kind of see that every month, like as of last month, overall inflation was 6.4%. And that's kind of been moving its way down every single month. And so you'd be like, gosh, we went from 9s and 8s all the way down to 6.5. But then last month, the markets went really, really nutty. They got really concerned about inflation. Because see, we were running 0.1, 0.4, 0.4, 0.1, negative 0.1, and then we jumped up to 0.5 in 1 month. And so that made the markets very worried that, you know what, we still had some inflation in other places kind of thing. But things don't run on like a linear scale. So like this is the average inflation rate overall by month. And so you can see that, in the summer of last year, like what was happening with inflation. And some of the biggest that we've had, for young people anyway, not in my lifetime, but I was alive in the 80s kind of thing when it was nutty back then too. But you can see that, if you look at our overall trend starting, we had 9% 1 month, 8.5, 8.3, 8.2, 7.1, 7.1, 6.5, 6.4, and the new number that just came out is 6%. So just going back to the very basics, inflation drives mortgage rates. What's happening with inflation? And so as inflation goes down, the other thing that's going to happen here, just to go back on this slide here, is the way that they calculate the overall inflation rate is, it's a 12-month run. So every 12 months, they're going to pick up a new month and they're going to drop off the month from a year previous. So like in January, they came in at 0.5. However, the January previous was at 0.6. So actually inflation dropped down. This month we came in at 0.4 or 0.4%. February last year, it was at 0.8. So inflation was half basically of where it was last year. So that's why we're seeing our overall rates come down. Now, is anybody happy with a 6% inflation rate? No, but is it moving in the right direction? Yeah. And so that's what we really want to see is that that inflation is moving in the right direction. And hopefully, the markets react. And when the markets react, that's where we get some of the really crazy volatile stuff going on. That being said, our mortgage is safer. I mean, as a mortgage industry, safer than it probably ever has been.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you were selling, some of y'all were selling back in 2006, 2007, 2008, right? We were all Oprah Winfrey real estate, right? You get a house, and you get a house, and you get a Pulse, you get a house. You just tell me how much you make, you get a house. How you can employ your dog and things like that. I mean, and the standards now, and for a while everyone was like, man, there's so many hoops to jump through. Especially the lenders had so many hoops to jump through, and they really kind of smoothed that whole process back out. But is the mortgage market safe now?
Yes.
Yeah, are we heading back into? Because some folks are like, oh, we're heading back into 2006, we're heading back into 2007, 2008. But when you look at what's happening on lending standards, it's really, really strong moving forward. Now, these are the projections for the different. So we got Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, and National Association of Realtors. These are all big brains. And while I'm not as worried about the exact percentage, what do you notice out of every single one of them as we progress through the year? What are they looking at interest rates doing? Dropping, right? Something is going to be a little higher, something is going to be a little bit lower. I tend to think the MBA is Mortgage Bankers Association. I think that they're pretty close, but that's again, a lot of this is like opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got one. Most of them stink. This is mine. And so, that's just kind of where I see us going though. But when I explain why I think something, I don't just say why I think something. I want you to understand why I believe what I'm saying. That it's not just a matter of because I said so kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, and so can we feel fairly confident that we are going to see interest rates softening as we go through the course of the year? Is that really good for housing?
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's very, very good news for us moving forward. And so these are the overall projections for mortgage rates. Now, are we going to be going back to 3%? even 4%.
And-
Jeremy, what do you think?
Not immediately.
I don't think, I think that was a once in a lifetime thing. I think that there was a chance. The Fed, they were buying, treasuries and they were buying mortgages, all these different kind of things. And so, like that was kind of artificial to get us through COVID and that kind of stuff. I just don't see that happening. And so I think we need to be realistic about, well, I want to wait until they get to 4. Well, then you may be 90 kind of thing, because I just don't ever see it going back to 4. I mean, those are very unique economic times when we had those crazy low historic interest rates. So now the other thing that's going on right now, we have this index called the MOVE Index, which is the Merrill Lynch Option Volatility Estimate, which is just a big fancy word to say they track how crazy the mortgage market is. And so, even though I'm going to say, look, I really do believe interest rates are trending down. They're going to keep trending down. Are they still going to go down and then up?
Yeah.
Up and then, I mean, it is never going to be this nice, easy, smooth. This report that tracks that, it is, it sits at 140, which is its highest, and it's up 40% since February. And so, is there going to continue to be a lot of volatility in the mortgage markets? Yeah, there really is. And so now is probably the best time to have really good relationships with your lenders, because rates are going to be changing. How often are rates changing, Jeremy?
Hourly right now. I mean,
Yeah. And then having the right lender who can help you lock in when the time is right, that can be really, really bad. I mean, how much of a swing are you seeing on certain days?
I mean, easily the same rate, you may go from par at 6.5 to 6.25 or something. I mean, you're seeing a quarter point, and it is par, which I mean, you think, because we do percentages, that this 1.5% difference on a $300,000, $4,500 per. I mean, so that's a big difference in just a couple hours.
Yeah.
Potentially. So,
Yeah, I mean, in a couple of hours, interest rates can move up.
and that's a lot. I mean, that's right now, but even since I'm more in a minute, but I've got an email since we've been here. Rate market due to volatility, we're not even opening pricing right now, which normally it opens at 10 a.m. And that's pretty much nationwide, just because they're seeing so much. They don't want to come out with too good of a price, because they know if they come out too good, we're all going to
Jump on
and
it.
lock
Yeah.
on it. Or versus they don't want to come out poor either. So it's kind of like,
So there's a lot of volatility. But that volatility doesn't mean it's bad. And the mortgage market, while it is associated with the banking and what happened, please understand that the volatility of this market is not the volatility of banking. No, I mean, they're like cousins kind of thing on there. So at the same time, right now, we have our lowest number of first-time home buyers ever buying in our market. And now I can also really understand why. I mean, because with rising interest rates as well as the property value, that's a pretty serious thing. Only about a quarter of all home sales, 26% of all home sales were attributed to first-time buyers last year. That's the lowest percentage since we started tracking numbers. And you can understand that the first-time buyers starts the whole process going. When first-time buyers come in, they buy property, that really starts the whole wheel kind of moving forward. And so, in previous years, it was running 34. Gosh, back in the day, it was even running 40%. And it really should be running 40%. And so, one of the big questions, and in in the past month, I've just gotten, I'm not gonna say hammered in a bad way, but I've got a lot of questions about, is this the right time to buy? Should I buy a home in this market? And so I'm never one of these guys who's like, hey, it's a great time to buy. Hey, it's a great time to sell. But I do think that we have to be very realistic about what's going on. And can you honestly, with full sincerity, answer this question for a client? Is it a good time to buy right now? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at why I think it's a good time to buy. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about is net worth. And so these are the tiers, the top tiers of net worth. So our top 1% of people in the United States, their net worth is around a little over 10 million, all the way down to, up in the top 50%, their net worth is around $500,000. 2/3 of all net worth in the United States tied up in homeownership. Right, like, I hope that kind of sinks in a little bit. Cause like, that's a really big number. When you look at like, you know, hey, these folks are loaded, these folks have a lot of money, what do they probably have? Real estate. Right, and so 2/3 of net worth in the United States is tied up in homeownership. So do you want to be part of that? Or do you not want to be part of that? Yeah. So the net worth of a typical homeowner is about 40 times the net worth of a renter. And now I say that not because renters aren't good people. I don't say that because we're trying to pick on renters. But like we need to really be able to like confidently explain what we really see in the rental market. And that is the net worth of an average homeowner in the United States right now is $300,000. That's the median net worth of a homeowner. What's the median net worth of a renter?
8,000.
Is there a little difference there? I mean, like you can't get a bigger disparity between these two. The average renter, by the way, I'll give you guys any of these slides that you want. So I'll send these out to the branch managers and you guys can have them afterwards, kind of thing. But the average renter is worth $8,000. Again, not saying bad things about them, not trying to pick on them, but the average renter has a net worth of $8,000. Average homeowner has a net worth of $300,000. Which camp would you like to reside in? Right? I mean, seriously, like this is an important, because you know, like when folks are like, should I rent? Should I buy? Like we need to talk about what's really important. Right? Like what are the factors that really help drive like wealth in the United States? And when you look at like, why was redlining such a terrible thing? Hello? Well, I mean, okay, yeah, it's racist. Okay, I got it. Basic. Besides being racist, which was, but redlining also, what did it stop?
Net worth.
Right, because we have an entire generation who were stuck with a net worth of $8,000 as opposed to a net worth of $300,000, and that's a terrible thing, right there. And so, still today, we have a lot of folks that don't understand them, and that look in the short term, and we need to be able to educate them, right? Now, in addition to that, home ownership is a hedge against inflation. So what I mean by that is, so once you buy a home, the vast majority of our homes are on a fixed rate mortgage, right? So our payments aren't going up, but when inflation goes up, what tends to happen to property values?
They go up.
They go up. And they go up more than inflation. So our homes tend to rise faster. Our property values tend to rise faster than inflation. So we have a positive growth on that side, and our payments don't change. So how about rents? What happens if you rent? What happens to rental rates versus inflation? So the inflation is at 6%. Where do you think rental rates are? 9, 10, right? Those go higher. So, you know, when you're a homeowner, your property values go up faster. When you're a renter, that rent payment goes up faster in there. This is the median asking rent since 1988 in the United States. Well, on one hand, you say that's real crazy, but I mean, seriously, but like, what is this also? Because rent is just, you know, an expression of property value. And so on one hand, like if you just want to keep renting, what are you going to keep doing?
Give away money.
You're going to keep spending more and more money. You're going to keep giving away a bigger piece of your pocket.
Alan.
Yep.
Question for you.
Uh-huh.
Good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
And seen you. Question for you. So how does that impact like the homeowners today that are buying houses in inflation? The government is trying to stabilize inflation. What does that do to them from a, you know?
Well, for a lot of our, I mean, like personally, like my heart goes out to first time buyers, honestly, because first time buyers have it really rough. Well, they're coming into a higher interest rate environment. At the same time, property values aren't dropping. For someone who's going to be looking at selling and buying, though, what have they already realized? Equity. They've already, and they're carrying that equity forward. They're carrying that those property value increases. And so we're seeing where a lot of our second time buyers are coming in with $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 towards the new home, right? And so, that's the big answer there. What I'm trying to address here is like, do I rent or do I buy? If I'm gonna buy, why? And I want you to be able to answer that really, really confidently. And so this is what the percent change in home prices is over the last 5 years. The national average, just for the last 5 years, is 58.4 value of appreciation.
Oh,
Now, that's national average. Can y'all see what Georgia is? Kind of hard to read. 73% property value appreciation in the state of Georgia. Now, how about if you own your home for longer? Hey, how about since 1991, how much property value appreciation do we have?
283.7%.
Good, but you got good eyes too. National average around 290, Georgia right around $284,000 is the average appreciation since 1991. Now, if you rented back in 1991, how much appreciation you got? You follow me, right? And when's the best time to buy?
Every time.
Always 5 years ago. Everybody will always say the best time to buy was 5 years ago. It's really, really true. And when you look at back here at this, I mean, who would not have wanted to buy 5 years ago, having 75% property value appreciation over the last 5 years? Right? And so, but you can always look back and say that, because on average, real estate appreciates by 4.5% a year. Like, I know so many folks who bought in 2006, 2007, 2008. How are they sitting right now? If you bought in 2008 at the height of the 2007, at the height of the market, are you in good shape right now? You're in great shape right now. You follow me? So, like it continues to grow wealth. And so this right here, if you just bought a home in January of this year for $400,000, like in 5 years, that home will be worth $454,000 just based on normal appreciation. And so in 5 years, somebody could basically save $50,000. Anybody know a better way to save $50,000 over the next 5 years?
Nope.
Than just living in your home?
Nope.
Y'all follow me?
Yeah.
So again, should we buy?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely, we should buy. How about when we look at the rent versus own scenario? In the Atlanta market, buying becomes cheaper than renting after 3 years. Just being straight up honest, right? And so, when you crunch all the numbers, because I went in, put in the median rents, put in the, where's that break even? The break even is around 3 years. And so if somebody's not going to live here for 3 years, what should they probably do? Rent. If you're not planning on, and I'm not one of these, no matter what, buy. Like if you're going to be here for a short time and you're not going to be able to stay in a home, can it hurt you then? Yeah. But how long do most people plan on living in a home? Most plan on living in their home for the next 20 years. Now, they don't actually do that, but that's their expectation, is they're going to live there for the next 20 years. And so if you have someone who's going to live in the area who at 3 years is where it starts to break even. Yes,
Is
sir.
that taking into account down payment, just more so for my knowledge as well? Is that where the break even point, like
Yeah.
the cash to close for
Yeah.
down payment versus security? Okay.
Well, but I want to look at a rent versus buy scenario in real life world, real world here kind of thing. So let's say that you're looking at a house to buy for $400,000. Okay, that's going to be around $2,275 in principal and interest, property taxes, insurance, that kind of stuff, about $945. Basically, you're going to end up with around monthly expenses of $3,386. That's your pity, right? Principal, tax, interest, the whole 9 yards. So it's going to run around $3,400 a month. I can go out and I can find a house to rent for $2,940. That sound better? It's a positive growth, right? I mean, but what happens when you really start looking at it? So this is just based on a 6.75% interest rate. So first thing I want you to see is, so in the dark areas, what happens with payments?
They've asked you to repeat the question
Repeat the question.
in future, yeah.
Okay, in the future, we'll do. What do you see happens with the dark area? Those are your payments.
Stay the same.
It stays the same, right? But now our rental rate's going to go up.
Yes.
And on average, You know, if we just took an annual rental rate increase of 4%. Well, that means that in the first year, it's $2,940, second year is $3,058. By the time we get up to year 9, just on a 9-year analysis, it's $4,024 a month. You get up all 9 years of rent. It's $372.601. That you just paid the rent out of that property. So what's your net wealth? Well, I mean, how much money are you taking away from paying $372,000 for the next 9 years?
Probably security deposit.
Yeah, probably the security deposit kind of thing. Now, in that same time, you know, our payment has stayed the same all the way across there. And so just out of property value appreciation, we're going to get 200 in those same 9 years, we're going to get $207,000 in property value appreciation, and we're going to pay off around $48,000 of our loan over those first 9 years. Because you always pay up, it's later on in the loan where you really start paying down principal. So what does that really look like? And so when you look at years like in year 1, year 1's not great for us, right? Because we've got closing costs, all those kind of fees and associated with buying the home. But then when you add in my appreciation gain, what the value appreciates for, plus how much I'm paying down on the home, the amortization, as well as the tax benefits, that means that if I rent that house for less money right now, for $2,900 a month, and I keep renting that house over the next 9 years, I'm going to have nothing. If I buy that home and I spend a little bit more, and I'm trying to put real life numbers here for you. You know, at the end of 9 years, how much appreciation, how much value have I gotten out of owning my home?
Over 216,000.
$216,000. And that's a really, and I wasn't trying to put some kind of, I did this with like a 6.7% interest rate when we put it in here. So it's not like I was like, oh, trying to, hot dog numbers or things like that. Because we want people to understand the value of home ownership. And right now we have such a low first-time buyer rate, a percentage, that there is massive demand out there for this. But we also need to be able to, I know that we're not trying to be financial planners, but we have to be able to speak intelligently about the benefits and the value growth that comes out of home ownership. It's super important right now because it's such a low percentage. Like the lights are flashing. We really need to be addressing that. We need to be focusing on this because folks need this for it. Because do you want the people that in your community to be renters with an $8,000 net worth, or to be homeowners with a $300,000 net worth? I know I want. So I also want to talk a little bit right now about household growth. And so I want to kind of start off back here. And so for those of y'all that were in the market with me back in 2006, 2007, in the light green bar, that is household formations. How many households that we started? And in the yellow, those are how many houses that we actually completed. And so in 2006, 2007, what did you notice happened with household formations? It fell off the cliff, right? It did. But now, over these past few years, we've been forming more and more households. And we're getting up here where now, are we forming more households than we're actually completing now?
Yeah.
Yes. So first thing I want to kind of jump into is, where does that come from? Like the first time home buyer age, just to throw that into reference, is 33 years of age. So if you go back and you said, what happened 33 years ago? Whoops, wrong way. What happened to 33 years ago? 33 years ago, this is the US birth rate in the United States, right here. Anybody know what happened in the 70s? Well,
Inflation.
I was born.
well, yeah, it was a great year, right?
Inflation went high.
Well, there was a change in how we looked at families and how we looked at forming families. And that's when we also, and I'm not getting political, but 1973 is when we legalized abortion in the United States. And I'm not picking and I'm not getting, I'm just saying, you just look at facts, like what happened 33 years ago? Like it wasn't just abortion, but by the same token, there was a change. And so we saw this massive drop in the birth rate. Well, what happens 33 years later? We saw this massive drop in 2006 at the same time. Well, now, how about 33 years from what's going on 33 years ago now?
It went up. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at where we're at right now. So when we start looking at why are we forming more households now? Well, we had more babies back in the day, right? And so 33 years ago, this was what's happened. So we're gonna have another spike over here kind of thing when we get another 10, 12 years. So like these things kind of work in cycles. And so we see that kind of coming on right now. And so overall, in the housing market, we're short between 4 and 6 million households in the United States. And residential real estate is heavily built based on supply versus demand. In the residential market, that's really drives us in there. And so this is just our shortage of apartments as well as single family housing. And we've been building apartments much faster than we've been building single family houses. What are we looking at on the shortage that we have on single family housing? I mean, it's staggering. So in the past 10 years, we have formed 15.6 million households just in the past 10 years. At the same time, we completed 13 million housing units, of which only 8.5 were single family homes. And so if all you did was single family homes and just kept the normal rate, we need to build 3 times the number of homes that we have just to keep up with that. So when people say, I think housing is going to crash, like we don't have enough houses, folks. Like there is not physically enough houses for the number of people and the number of households that we're forming right now. And so, our pace of home building, while it has been up, this is what home building is looking like in the United States. So, like this like what happened when all those all those household formations dropped at the same time? So we've had 14 straight years where our construction has been below our 52-year average. So we've been making babies, but we ain't been building houses. Right? You have a question?
I was just curious to get your thoughts about these builders that are now doing, instead of building houses for sale for rent, and how does that play in?
So the question is, what about the build to rent folks? And really, that's just in an answer to, because we have a shortage of housing in general. There's a lot of investors like if I'm an investor and I can own I can buy an investment property, I'm taking that wealth from that renter. And so as a builder, hey, I got an investor who will buy 50 houses from me, and I don't have to meet with any homeowners. I don't have to do any kind of special add-ons. It's just cookie cutter all the way, soup to nuts all the way through.
No,
Super easy.
To clarify, like I just ran across a community that D.R. Horton is doing is a rental property rentals.
Yep.
They're not selling them to investors.
Right, they're rent to own.
Yeah, no, they're not even.
Yes, but they're
We're gonna get into.
right, but that's an investor buying that product at the end of the day. And so that same investor is buying all 50, 100 homes in there, and then they're just going to turn around and rent that.
Alan, I feel like it's one other thing that shows us we should be purchasing homes and not renting. When you see investors doing that, because people keep listening to the doom and gloom type of thing, but that's just one more reason.
Yep.
They're showing us.
No, you're exactly right. But like what I want you to understand is that when people say, I think housing is going down, housing is going to crash, things like that. When you just look at the basic numbers of we don't have enough houses. We can't build it would take it's going to take us years to dig out of the hole that we already have in housing right now. And just supply versus demand, we don't have enough. And so does that mean that I don't see us having crazy value appreciation, but I do think that's why we're seeing the market starting to level off right now. So if you poll the different companies, Realtor.com, Bank of America, Freddie Mac, that kind of stuff, somewhere in that 3, 4, 5, 6 million households that we are short in the United States. And that's a really big deal for us, right? I mean, there's different people you can poll different ways, but we just don't have enough houses. And so supply versus demand really kicks in. I also like to look at what are the numbers really saying to us also right now. So I pulled both Georgia MLS and FMLS. And I like to see exactly how we're looking on things. And so overall, new listings in Georgia MLS, new listings are down 10.7%. In FMLS, new listings are down 23%. So we're not building enough. We're not getting any new listings. What's going to happen with property values? Are they going to drop? It's really like it's just like we don't have enough housing. We don't have enough houses for the folks that want to buy them right now. And as interest rates drop, which we've already talked about, what's that going to do to demand? It's going to increase it even more so, kind of thing. So now overall pending sales, we've seen pending sales for all of the past year. Pending sales has been running down, and pending sales is still running down. However, pending sales is trending up. And what I mean by that, throughout, especially the third quarter of last year, pending sales was down 33 to 36% on average for the end of last year. So even though we are down 18%, that's half of where we were. So we are trending up on the overall pending sales moving forward. At the same time, Showing Time released their data and said it was the largest jump in showings of any January in record. And I know that from the brokerage at our level, we've seen the number of showings since it's kind of like January 1st kicked off, and man, the race was on. Like our transaction counts have really been up, that kind of thing. And so it's really kind of moved into that range. Overall closings follow very similar to those same numbers kind of thing. Closed listings down about 18%. And so that follows pending sales very similar as well on there. But I really feel that there's a lot of room for us to make this up, especially as we move forward longer into the year. We're really going to start seeing that number really start to shift around, because we're going to start coming up against those same numbers from summer last year. What happened during summer last year? Pending sales are really starting to trend down right then. And so now we're going to be trending up, going against trend lines that were trending down. You're going to slowly start seeing us jump up over last year. So our average sale price, $300 in Georgia MLS is $392,000, in FMLS $387,000. A 1.7% property value appreciation and 1.8 in FMLS. So our property value is going down. Now, and for the average consumer out there, for your average client, when they say how's the market doing, this is the number they want to know. Like they don't care about, they really don't care how many sales you're doing, what your volume is. Like, is my house worth more today than it was yesterday? Is it worth more this month than it was last month? And so, and like, if you just look at the numbers that we've already seen, are we looking at property values being able to drop? Nationally, there's going to definitely be some markets that see prices softening, but here in Georgia especially, and we may have a month or two where we dip under, but we're going to end up for the year somewhere in that 4 to 6% property value appreciation rate, which, by the way, is normal. Like, we need normal. Normal is great. So if we can just be at normal, that's a really great place for us to be. Now, overall total active listings is up. So you can see where we were last year versus this year. So total active listings is up 30%. In Georgia MLS, up 40% in FMLS. And so that seems really kind of startling, right? Like, that's a huge number of more listings. Now our new listings are down, but total listing is up. What's that really look like? And so this is what this looks like when you compare it to the last 6 years. So when you look at, like, we've got around 508,000 homes for sale. We had well over 1 million in 2007, 2018, 2019. Who was in the business in those years? Any of y'all in the business in? How were those years in real estate? Good years in real estate, right? And so we still have. So yes, are we up over where we were in 2020 and 2021 and 2022? I mean, yeah, we're up. But does that mean historically that things are bad? And so like this is one of those headlines where you see, like, overall, total inventory is up 30%. We're waiting on property values to drop. I don't see it. Overall days on market in Georgia MLS is 55 days. In FMLS is 35 days. Now, if you look at the headline, they're going to say days on market in FMLS is up 337%. And is it? Yes, because last year days on market was 8. This year days on market, 35.
That's more sensational.
That's exactly it, right? I mean, like, still, we're talking 35 days on market, like, gosh, there were so many years that like you just salivate thinking of 35 days on market, right? I mean, I've been like 120 days, 150 days on market. That was like normal back in the day. How about overall months supply of homes? Again, as far as our, how many months of inventory do we have? It's up 80%. But 1.8 months of standing inventory. How many months of inventory do we need to have a balanced market where the number of buyers that we have matches with the number of sellers? How many months? 6. We need 6 months of standing inventory to where the number of buyers and the number of sellers in a market is even. So yes, you'd be like, on one hand, wow. Overall months of, standing, how many months of inventory we have is up 80%. Okay, it's still a third of where we are of going to like a balanced market. And so do I see us moving into a more balanced market? Absolutely. But that's good. Like it's nice to go back into a balanced market. So many of us went from this massive buyer's market into a massive seller's market. It'd be nice to have a normal market for a little while. This is what that months of inventory of homes for sale looks like over time. And so, yes, our total standing inventory is up from where it was, but how about compared to historically where we're looking at? Past years, 2017, 2018. We are still, we don't have enough houses, no matter what. And so, how about this one? This one looks scary here. So this is our total number of new foreclosures. That looks pretty troubling, doesn't it? Because the red is this year, blue is last year. Well, that's 10 for all of Georgia MLS for the month. Okay.
Oh, 10.
10. That's not a percent. 10.
Oh,
Okay.
that's all.
Because this is what it looks like. This is what distressed property really looks like in the United States. So for the past two years or so, we had a foreclosure moratorium and eviction moratorium. So is it up?
A little.
Oh yeah, honestly, man, like if you put it on the graph, it's up like 300%. But 300% from nothing to we're still under 1%.
And
So yeah. So but it's all how you look at it. It's how you spin it too, kind of thing. And so I'm not trying to spin anything. I want you to look at what are the real numbers. I mean, of course, we're very different from back during the foreclosure nightmare that we had going on for years. But still, is there an opportunity for the foreclosure market to come back?
not really.
Think about it. Do we have enough houses? And a house comes on the market and it's priced right. How quickly is it gone?
Get bought up.
Yeah, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
And how about folks that are going into that are the defaults that are getting notice of defaults, that kind of stuff? Is that up? No, it isn't. Because nobody wants to lose their house. So I'm old. I totally got it. I want to talk to you a little bit about these were headlines, and I'm not necessarily picking on CNBC, but in October 2015, the headline was Housing Today, a bubble larger than 2006. And we have 5.1 property value appreciation, median home price 315. The average homeowner, their property value grew by $15,000. In 2016, another headline, we're in a housing bubble again. Property value appreciation that year, 5.4%. 2017, homeownership doesn't build wealth, study says. Yeah. Property value appreciation, 6.1%. On average, $20,000 per homeowner per year. In 2018, it's better to rent than it is to buy in this housing market. Property value appreciation, 4%. much more modest, but still within the range of normal. $14,000 is the average equity that the average homeowner put to their home that year. 19, housing market is about to shift in a bad way for buyers. Property value appreciation, 4%. Another $15,000. In December 2019, is the US in for another housing bubble? Watch out. Property value appreciation, 16%. $61,000 is added. In 2021, housing boom is over. New home sales falls to pandemic low. Property value appreciation that year, 18%, $80,000. So if you spend a lot of time focusing on the headlines, what are you going to talk yourself out of? I mean, like seriously, like these are, I actually pulled these headlines from each one of those years. And then laid out with like, these are the prominent headlines for those years. And this is what the reality is. And so if you spend can you talk yourself out of having a good year in real estate? Yeah, you absolutely can. And see, and that's why I want you to be looking at the numbers here kind of thing. So overall, now I do want to talk about like some real things. 80% of the money that's in the market is in the form of credit. And all of our inflation, the numbers that we're talking about, that's just, too many dollars chasing too few goods. And so one area that I am concerned of right now is that we have an all-time high credit card debt in the United States. And at the same time, we've gone back to one of our lowest savings rate ever. Now, like when pandemic hit, that kind of stuff, everybody saved a lot then. But now, what are we seeing happening with credit card debt, and what are we seeing happening with savings? Is that good do you think, for our economy? No. And so, like my feeling is that, when you look at what the Fed is doing with raising the federal funds rate, things like that, I really feel like we're not in one now. We're moving into a recession. Is that scary?
Can be.
For a lot of people, but a lot of people, when they think recession, and if you lived in 2006, 7, 8, what do you think? Housing crashes, right? Is that the reality? No. This is what happens. The dark lines represent the recessions. And what do you notice in all these dark lines except for one? Probably up, down in 2008. But whose fault was 2008?
Ours.
So we were to blame, right? All the rest, all these other recessions in here. And so you can see that a recession does not mean falling prices. Does not mean that property values are going down with a recession. What happens to interest rates during a recession?
Go down.
Well, I mean, when you look at, these are the same times. What do you see happening in every one of these times?
Interest rates.
These are the amounts of the average amounts that interest rates drop during these recession periods, from their peak to their trough, from the beginning to the end. So if we are heading into recession, we like real estate's already had their recession. Like our recession has been in volume, and that's been going on for the past year. But right now we're poised to really pull everybody out of the recession, or really drive out of the recession here, because like can property values really drop to a significant number? We may have a month here or there, but we know supply versus demand, there's just not enough houses. And we know that there's a lot of demand out there for houses. And we know that what happens if interest rates, or when interest rates come down?
People will buy.
Y'all follow me now? All right. Yes, I'm old, okay? I want to talk to you about the portals. Yes, portal combat, all right. And like the big portals out there are going to be Realtor.com and Zillow. And I want to talk to you, and we're kind of going to wrap with this today, and I want you to understand some things about these folks. And so if we compare the property portals, Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin. So first thing up, Zillow has 4 million daily app uses every day. 4 million people use the Zillow app every day. Realtor.com, 1.3 million folks use the app there. Another million use the Redfin app. And I talked to a lot of our agents, and they're like, what? We have an app? like you all have an app, it's through KV Core, it's called Million Map, it's there. And if you will share your app with your clients, will they use it? I just know so many agents that are like, my clients won't bother. Really? I got about 6 million people using them right now from our competitors. So please don't confuse yourself and say apps are no big deal. Like there's 6 million people using real estate apps every day. Okay, that's a lot. And if you will, and they trust you way more than they trust Zillow or Realtor.com. And so if they trust you more, who are they going to do? Would they rather use your app or use Realtor.com or Zillow's app?
You're right.
Yeah. Zillow has 80 million monthly organic visits, Realtor.com 41 million, another 10 million for Redfin. These are people that go to their site just to look at properties. Don't know anybody else that has a site where people can go and look at properties? Y'all follow me? You all. Yeah, thank you. Right, exactly. Total monthly visits for Zillow is 341 million, 154 million for Realtor.com, another 50 million, give or take, for Redfin in there. So like these guys here, these guys are making money selling our data. And listen, that cat's out of the bag. Like that ship is sailed. I don't care what you know, what euphemism you want to use, but like we're not getting that back. Used to be that we were the brokers of information. We aren't anymore. So that being said, these guys are doing really great numbers. When you look at, you know, Zillow made $1.6 billion last year. Realtor.com didn't share that. And by the way, is Realtor.com owned by realtors?
No.
No. Who owns Realtor.com? News Corp. Murdoch owns Realtor.com. Redfin made $286 million. These companies all made a lot of money selling real estate data. Because what do people want to do?
They want to search information.
They want to look at pretty houses. Now, who has the access to this same information? They do. We do. As a matter of fact, it's our data. And so it absolutely infuriates me when I find that we are not even, I mean, like when you look at Zillow, especially, and I'm not trying to pick on Zillow, but Zillow makes a lot of money selling leads that should be ours back to ourselves. And there's more and more folks that are glad to take that. I'm not knocking you if you're getting Zillow or Realtor.com. I'm not trying to poo-poo that. What I'm saying is that there's also a great opportunity for you to be utilizing your website, to be able to utilize your KV Core system. Because will your system can a regular consumer go in and search just like an agent? And then our sites are updated every 15 minutes. It automatically pulls all the new MLS data from both MLSs or from multiple MLSs, whichever ones you have put into the system. Because what do people want to see? They want to see pretty houses. And so you have that. We also have the ability to go in and set up property alerts. We can send property alerts out to all of our clients. Has anybody ever signed up for Zillow or Realtor.com to get their property alerts? No. They're there. That's the exact, I mean, this is, what I'm saying is Realtor.com, Zillow, they're doing the same things that agents have not bothered to do. And you have the resources to do that. I'm really, really begging you to please take advantage of what you have. Because when you will share property data and people go in and they log into your website, it captures all their data, that kind of stuff, and keeps up with when they go and when they look. When you log in there, you're going to be able to see, these are all the different emails. This is who's been opening what property. Now it's a chance for you to interact, to be able to engage with folks. Stop giving money away to the portals, okay? Because they are glad to take your money. Very, very glad that they will share your data to your clients and then have you pay them all day long. But please cut them off, because you can do the exact same thing. So last month, I put out a contest and I said, whoever can add, for everyone who adds in new contacts into their KV Core database, putting your name in a pot. And this is it's not huge, but there's a bunch of them in here, okay? And so McKinsey and all the branch managers went through and they got the names of everyone that went into their KV core system, added in people or had enough people to qualify kind of thing. And so this is our drawing for a $300 gift. card.
Wow.
So, ooh, yeah. This was last month, like you should have already been doing this, right? That was the whole point. So, all right, here we go. Yep. I'm gonna draw here. All right, let's see. Genial artery. Here we are. Just had a tongue tongue. So, yay! So. But seriously, like you can do so much better by just going in and working the systems. Like you have the tools to do these things. You have the tools that you need to fight against the portals and to actually win. So please take the time to do this. Make sure every client that you have in your database actually has proper alerts set up. That's so valuable for you to just go out there and do that. So thank you guys very much. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you guys feel like prepared to go and talk to especially first-time buyers about why it's so important to the value of homeownership, that kind of stuff. So that's all I got. So I love y'all and thank you very much. All right. And then we're gonna switch off to the local offices and we're just gonna do our own local thing here as well. So thank y'all.